Welcome to a special summer update edition of the Moneycast by my bank. Hi there, and welcome to this very special summer update edition of the Moneycast by my bank. As always, I'm Nick, I'm your host for the show, and today we're going to do something slightly different. Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 things we need to update you on for summer 2023. It's going to be a slightly shorter show than normal, but we're going to cover some of the things that are coming up right now that means you might need to know about them for the energy world. So again, we're going to get started, but you can always get us on our social medias. I'm on the bottom of the screen right now. Without further ado, though, let's get into our 5 things for summer. So as you can see, we've got our 5 topics over here that we want to have a look at. And the first one is this, the energy bill support scheme. Now, you might remember in some of our earlier episodes, we talked about the fact that the government was going to help out over the winter with £400 towards everyone's bill. Doesn't matter whether you had benefits or not, or what was going on. If you had an electric bill in your house, you were going to get £400 between last October and this March. Well, we're filming this in June, so that has now finished. And it means that you might be about £70 a month light on your energy bills if you haven't been paying attention to when that ended. Now, there's another change that's coming, which I'll talk about in just a sec. But the big tip here is do make sure you've checked with your account and just make sure you're up to date. There are 2 ways they used to pay this out. Some people used to put it on the account, so you'd have a deduction in your bill. If you haven't checked, just make sure you don't owe lots of money because that's now stopped for the last couple of months. The other thing that used to happen is they used to put £70 or about £68 every month into your bank account for you to then pay the bill. Now, obviously, that will have stopped in the last couple of months, and hopefully you'll have been aware of that. But just be aware that £400 support is no longer in place. What the government has now is a price guarantee. So what they say is that we're going to cap all bills, or the average bill, to £2,500. But there's been movement here as well. In fact, for the first time in 18 months, I can say that the price caps are going down. So from July, Ofgem are installing a new price cap, and that new price cap for the average household will be about £2,070. It's just over the £2,000 mark. What that means is that for the first time since this whole energy crisis started, the bill price that the companies are allowed to charge you is going to be lower than the government's guarantee. That means that for some of us, most of us, we should see a reduction in our bills for the next 3 months. Bills are going down potentially. Of course, that does depend on whether you've got arrears and whether you have to pay extra for any money you may have missed over the last few months. But certainly if you're up to date and you've been paying on time and you've been keeping up, you might find that your bills are going to get a little bit cheaper. Now, in terms of working out how much cheaper, we turn to our friend Martin Lewis. Martin Lewis has this wonderful calculator on his website, which basically helps you look at what will change from July. So you put in what type of payment, whether you pay monthly or whatever, and then you tell it where you live, and it should spit out how much they expect for you to pay after the July cap comes in. Now, again, not 100% accurate, but a good way to kind of see roughly what's going to happen to your payments when the new caps come in. And again, this is the first time since the whole energy crisis started that things have started going down. Now, the next step, the thing we want to see next is, are we going to see cheaper tariffs coming back? And are we going to see price comparisons coming back? Not yet, but soon. And the fact that this cap has now come down lower than it has been before is a really good sign that things are going to get better for us. So just stick in. You're doing really well. Keep with it. And don't forget, if you need any help or you're struggling with your bills, make sure you ask for help. Okay. Now, you may know that if you were struggling on your bills and you've got a monthly bill and you don't pay it, that they're allowed to come and change your meter to a prepayment meter. Well, the thing is that that's true, they can do this, but there are rules. And it's turned out that there are some companies that the gas and electric companies were using who were doing things, let's just say, not quite in the right way. They were forcing meter installations on people that really shouldn't have had that meter installed. So we wanted to make sure that you understand the rules around meter changes. Of course, you know, the best way to avoid this is to make sure you keep up with your payments. And this doesn't stop you requesting a meter change. You might want to be on a prepayment meter for good reasons, for budgeting reasons, because you find it easier. But if you're currently on a normal pay monthly or pay every 3 month meter, and they're trying to force you to change, here are the rules you should know about. So first of all, these are set by Ofgem. So every energy company has to follow this. And it means that the supplier cannot move you to prepayment if you don't agree you owe them money and you've told them this because it's from an old tenant or something like that. They haven't offered you other ways to pay the money you owe. So if they haven't offered you a repayment plan, they can't just whack in a new meter. If they come to your home to install a meter, but they haven't given you the proper amount of notice, so 7 days for gas, 7 working days for electric, they can't move you. And if they haven't given you at least 28 days to repay your debt before saying they want to move you, then they can't move you then as well. So you've got 28 days to pay your debt. They have to give you 7 days notice. And if you don't genuinely think you owe the debt, they have to resolve that before they can force any meter change on you. Now, let's say that they've decided they're going to push forward with a meter change. There are some scenarios where you can refuse to have your meter changed entirely. So you can refuse to be moved to a prepayment meter if you have an illness or disability that would make it difficult for you to top up, or if your illness or disability would be made worse if you lose power. So, for example, if I'm diabetic and I've got medicine in the fridge, I could argue that if I had a power cut, my risk of insulin being destroyed and therefore my health being at risk would be bad. Therefore, I could argue I can't be moved to prepayment. Also, you can refuse if you don't think you'll be able to afford to top it up. If you're pregnant and have children under 5, if you can't get to your meter, which is very rare nowadays, but it can happen depending on the type of building you're in, especially older buildings. The last one is if you can't get to a shop to buy credit. Although I will say a lot of the companies now allow you to buy credit via the phone or the internet. So this one may not be as strong a reason to refuse as it was before. But these are the reasons you can refuse to be moved to a prepayment meter if you so wish. Now, like I say, if you want to move to a prepayment meter, absolutely fine. But if you're being forced, that's what you need to know. Great. Now, if you are in a situation where you need some help, you might have heard us talk about this before, the PSR, the Priority Services Register. Well, they have a shiny new website I'd like to share with you just to show you what you can expect if you do want to sign up to the PSR. So this website allows you to put your postcode in, and then it will find the right supplier to attach you to. You'll see here the list of electric providers and gas distributors. Now, these are not the companies, they're the companies that run the networks. It's not British Gas, it's the people that run the actual networks that British Gas and EDF and all those kind of guys use. You can also see here on the website the type of help that's on offer, and you can see that potentially there may be help from water providers from March if you're signed up here as well. Now, I will say, if you're in doubt, better to shout. If you're not sure you can get some help, ask. The worst thing they can do is say no. But if you do get the help, it's better to ask for that help before you need it than when trouble strikes. And that way, if something bad does happen, they already know about you, they already know they need to help you, and they'll already be finding ways to do that before you even make a phone call. So don't forget, if you think you might need it, PSR, really good resource. Make sure you get on there if you think you need some extra support. Last but not least, I'd like to do my every episode reminder that carbon monoxide poisoning is highly, highly dangerous. And if you have a gas supply in your property, you might really want to consider getting an alarm that can detect both fire and carbon monoxide. Everyone's really, keen on fire detectors and making sure they've got a fire alarm, but sometimes less so about carbon monoxide. Now, carbon monoxide poisoning is really dangerous because you can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it. You get a kind of woozy headache, and then you can die. So it's really important that if you have a gas supply, 2 things happen. Number 1, that you have a carbon monoxide detector in your property to make sure you're safe at all times. And number 2, if you have gas supply in your property, that gas supply is checked once a year by a Corgi registered gas engineer, and making sure that your property is safe for you to live in and not releasing any toxic fumes into your flat because you've got a dodgy boiler or a broken flue or chimney, that kind of thing. So do make sure you're getting that annual check, and make sure if you can, get an alarm in the property as well. And that will do it for these 5 top things for summer. Hopefully they're useful. So thanks again for joining us for this update. Again, I've been Nick Smith-Patel, your host for the Moneycast. Again, if you want to ask us any questions or reach out to us, you can find all our socials down below here. Please come and join us on TikTok. We've got some exciting new stuff coming out there, so you can see some new videos from our training teams and our education teams across the country. Other than that, thank you for joining us. See you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.